Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use.
Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media with your executive producers, Ida Crawford
Hello.
And Ruth Haskins. We hope this has been a good day for you and that you have found the blessings in it. Today, we have coming to the mic, Shelley Meche'tte, a certified life purpose coach, personal development expert, speaker, and women's change agent who is dedicated to the empowerment of women through strategized personal and professional development. Through her women's organization, the PowHERful Woman, Shelley challenges women to take responsibility for the actions of the person staring back at them in the mirror, while reminding them of the fact that they are powerful, valuable, and unique. Shelley is passionate about motivating, educating, and building the self-esteem awareness of women, desiring to show women how to love themselves for real. So, for real, we have Shelley Meche'tte here. And thank you so much. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Just Minding My Business.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, welcome. And wow, how did you get started?
Wow. We'd probably be here for a minute for that. I'd have to say the Cliff Note version is I've always had a love for women. Even before I really understood that I had a love for women, I had a love for women, meaning I was a single parent and I was always looking for a way to be able to connect with other parents, mainly women who were single parents, so that we could come together, so that we could support one another, so that we could pour life back into one another. I was always that person that people came to, who asked my advice, who wanted to know what to do, and wanted to talk about their relationship, wanted to talk about how they could go to the next level for their business. I was always that person who had an idea for someone. When my husband and I married, then I said, hey, let's put a group together of some couples and try to come together. That didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go, but I've always been that person who has wanted people to see themselves. And if you can't see yourself, allow me to see you until you're able to. And I think that is just a part of who I am, because as a child, I grew up with a single parent. And so I grew up with abandonment issues, and I grew up loving theater. So I pretended a lot. And so I pretended that my father was in love with me. And, and even though I believe definitely that my father loved me very much, it was only the level that he was able to give versus what I needed. And so those two realities just never came together. And so he was an absentee parent, which left me in a lot of frailty emotionally. But with that, I believe that also gave me a heart for other women who might be walking through those same things.
Wow, that is awesomeness. And I like how you described your dad.
Yeah.
I like the way you said it. It was no malice. Mm-hmm. It was no point finger type thing. It was, he did what he knew best.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I really had to grow into, because unfortunately, when we raise children, our absence, our presence, our love, our words, all of these things, they're poured into children. Mm-hmm. And so we receive our esteem, we receive our worth from these things. And so unfortunately, when you have a parent who hasn't had an opportunity to heal the frailties that are in their lives, mm-hmm. then unfortunately they cut the children accidentally. It's not always on purpose. It's just that you haven't been able to mend the broken areas in your life. And so for me, growing up with that, unfortunately, I took the hit for that because I struggled with self-esteem, with loving myself, with just wanting someone to tell me, that I was pretty. And so I was looking for things that he unfortunately didn't provide. My mother did, but I didn't get a chance to experience that relationship, that, male-female relationship.
Yes.
And so it took time to grow into that. I literally had to step into a position to say, I forgive you. And I did that after he died. I said, I forgive you for not being able to be the man that I needed you to be in my life. And I forgive you for that. And, we were in contact with one another before he passed away for about a year. And so I did have a chance to spend that time with him and to try to develop a relationship. But again, I had to come to terms with, he will never be that daddy. We just won't have that. And it's okay. I had a choice. Either I could stay in the past and be bitter about what I never received, or I could take the pieces of you at this stage and see what we could develop. And I chose to take the pieces.
Wow. And I think that's great, because you have to do what you have to do for you sometimes.
Right.
When it comes down to other people, you can't control their thoughts,
So true.
what they do and things like that, but you can always control what you do.
Exactly.
And it's a learning process. It is a learning process. That's what I heard from you just now. You don't always do it when they're alive. I know I had to do the same thing with my father. I can totally identify with what you're saying. But understanding that our parents had limitations.
Right.
And they only knew what they knew. They couldn't know more. And they didn't have access to all the information that we have today.
So true.
So that we can go through that healing process. They didn't know. If you had mentioned to either of our parents that, there was a possibility of healing this situation, they would have looked at us like we had lost our mind.
And then said, go sit down.
Exactly.
Right.
Go sit down. That's right. This is grown folks talk. Yes, go sit down someplace. So this is a new wave of understanding that we have, and it's wonderful because we do get to forgive our parents.
Yes.
And come to an understanding of who they were in their place in time, and that they were children once too, and sometimes very damaged.
Exactly. And then we have to be able to look at our parents as people. And I think a lot of times we skip that. We skip the fact that they're people. I remember the day that the realization came to me that my mom was a person. And I was like, well, how that happen? What you mean? You mean you got feelings?
That's right. You're not mom in a box,
Right.
Mom in a box.
Literally, one day I was like, wow, you mean you're a woman? Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Because you're my mom. That's not it. You're just my mom. That's the only position you have.
Exactly. You're not allowed to move out of that.
Exactly.
And it's sometimes quite a shock.
It is.
I
like having this conversation because I'm hoping our listening audience is saying what I'm saying, probably what Ida's saying, and following what you're saying. Oh yeah, I went through that. There was a day when I realized that my mother was a human being. Oh my gosh, she's flesh and blood. It's right. There's so many people who are out there going, yeah, I went through that, and it's quite a shock. It's quite a shock.
I think it's quite a shock. I think it is. I was just like, this just makes no sense. You mean you have human flaws? There's error, because I am such a mama's girl. My mom is like everything. And so when I found out that you actually, you bleed red blood, you make mistakes, I was like, oh, this is too much.
Who gave you permission to be human?
Right. Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I'm sure our audience is enjoying this. Is going to really enjoy this.
Yes. So talk a little bit about your business, your organization.
Yes, I have an organization called the PowHERful Woman, and it's very interesting how it came about. My oldest daughter was graduating from high school, and at that time, I don't know how many churches still do, but when I was growing up, we used to have scholarships for the graduates. So you would graduate and they would try to send the graduates off with scholarship money to help them that first couple of years. Well, when my daughter was graduating from high school, our church didn't have that. They didn't have the resources. And so what I wanted to do was put something together where we would be able to have something for the students that were getting ready to go to college. So I had this grand idea to begin a nonprofit by doing a concert. And so I ended up starting this nonprofit for teens. I did this for a couple of years and I was so unhappy. And I couldn't understand why I was unhappy because I loved doing it. I loved helping the kids. The kids loved it. The parents loved it. We were doing great things. So I remember going to God and saying, what is it? You know, I'm doing something good. Why am I not fulfilled? Why do I feel like there's a chain and bog, you know, on me every time I do this? And I'll never forget, God said, you're doing the right thing, but for the wrong people. Mm-mm. Yes. And I sat back and I was like, what? You know, and God's like, who do you love? And I was like, well, I love you, Jesus. And he's like, no, that's not it. That's great. But, and I'm like, I love women. And it was just like an aha moment. And I literally, at that moment, I said, oh my gosh, I want to create a safe space for women to be able to come once a year, love each other, enjoy one another, take your shoes off, talk about anything. And that year, I ended that program for teens and jumped right into creating a conference for women. And that's how it began. I said, I just want something powerful. I want women to feel powerful. And that's where the name came from. And I thought it was cute to turn it into a her.
It works. It works.
Wow. That's awesome. Doing the right thing, but with the wrong folk.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Because I felt like I'm doing what I'm called to do, which is where I began to really study more about purpose and really understand the things that we've been created to do versus the things that we enjoy doing. And there's nothing wrong with the things that you enjoy, and there's nothing wrong with having those things that you enjoy be what you give to other people. But there's just a difference between doing that and doing what you were actually created for. Mm-hmm. And so I found that difference in that experience.
Now, let me just ask you, just for clarity, for many of some of our audience may be in that place. Mm-hmm. What was your process?
Uh-oh. See, look, I accidentally touched something.
Oh, you good.
My daughter always telling me, leave stuff alone.
How did you figure out that? Okay, when a person is going through trying to find their purpose, mm-hmm. as opposed to what they're good at, mm-hmm. What does that look like? What does that look like for you?
Well, I tell you, as I was walking through, here's one of the two ways that I always tell women when we're trying to figure out those things. I tell women, number one, let's make a list. Let's make a list of maybe just 3 to 5 things that you just enjoy. Don't make it difficult. If you enjoy kicking rocks on the sand, that's great. Whatever it is, just make a list of about 5 things that you enjoy. Now, from that list, then you're going to connect it with how do you feel when you do those things. Because when we're stepping into purpose and into creativity and into the things that we were designed to do, there's a certain feeling that comes with it. There's feelings of fulfillment. There's feelings of peace. There's feelings of understanding. And then there's a difference because everything that we do has a frustration attached to it. But if it's purpose, it has a burning attached to it. So the burning outweighs the frustration. Mm-hmm. For me, when I was doing my organization, the burning did not outweigh the frustration. The frustration literally drained me to where I didn't want to do it. Versus me putting a conference on for women who I knew that I wanted to bring together so they could understand themselves and love themselves. It was frustrating, but vigorating. It was frustrating, but exciting because I understood the ultimate. And the ultimate was women breaking free. And that's what gave me the push. So when I made a list of the things that I love, the things that I enjoy, I got excited talking about women, talking about us coming together, talking about the things that we're doing. And the fulfillment was there. versus me helping someone else, which I could enjoy, but it's not the life fulfillment. So that's how we start. We start with the list and how you feel when you do those things. Mm-hmm. Connect an emotion to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that. Because some people struggle with that. They don't know. They just don't know which way to go. But, you know, it's like having that defined, like what you just did, helps to people to be able to actually see those things if they're in a place where they don't really know how to distinguish.
You're absolutely correct. There's so many times that we could think about things, and you may be able to attest to this. When we think about too many things, it becomes confusing.
Yes.
You know, and you start going, well, maybe I do, maybe I don't. Well, did I like it? Don't I like it? It's just too much. But when we take just a small amount of things and we lay them out on paper, then what we do when we look at one thing, it actually subconsciously causes us to focus on that one thing. And then we're able to actually pull the things that we need out of us, versus me sitting here saying, well, I love to cook and I like to ice skate and I like to rollerblade and I enjoy the beach. So now it's too many things. When I lay them down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I say, oh, I like to ice skate. What happens is I begin thinking about ice skating. And then I begin thinking about how it feels to ice skate. And then I begin thinking about memories that are attached to the ice skating. And so now I can connect those things and see, is this something that I just enjoyed because it was a family activity? Mm-hmm. Is this something that I enjoyed because it was my release? Because when I would ice skate that I got a chance to be away from the world? Or is this something that is embedded? It's something that I cannot be without. I don't want to be without this in my life, whether I'm doing it, whether I'm teaching it, whether I'm, drawing about it, what is it? And so that gives us a chance to focus on it and really find out what it is about that activity that puts us in that particular place. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Yes, it does. And it sounds, it's probably what so many of us need, because we do have a lot of things that we enjoy. I mean, there are lots of things that we enjoy.
Right.
But what is it that really draws us? What is it that is really the focus of our lives, so to speak?
Exactly.
When you know that it hits you. We had a conversation a while ago, and we came up with a little saying, #goosebumps. What is it that gives you goosebumps?
What gives you goosebumps? Mm-hmm. What keeps you up at night? What wakes you up in the morning? There are some things in life you will not get me to do unless you put a $sign to it. They're like, no, I want you doing that. You're going to have to pay me for that. And then there are things that I will do that connect with my purpose that I'm like, oh, I'll run to do that. I'll run to pour, myself into that. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to give myself to that.
Yes.
So let me ask you, on that note, you have a book that you wrote. Does that talk about this, what you're talking about now?
So actually what my book talks about is, it talks about us being able to find the happiness that is within us, because before we can ever understand purpose, we have to understand self. And so my book is called 70 Days of Happy. Life is Better When You Smile. And it's 70 days of practical principles that you can gravitate to, things that we forget about, things that we take for granted, understanding where your decompression is, understanding where your true heart is. When you begin to understand this, it positions you for purpose, because now I can hear. Now I know what I like versus what I don't like. Now I am a happier person and I can receive things. You cannot receive things when you are angry. You cannot receive when you don't know who you are. You cannot receive when you don't create healthy boundaries. And these are the things that we talk about in my book.
Okay, that's a lot put into a very short few sentences. Because it is a lot. Those are the things that we really need. I appreciate that you said something about you have to know who you are.
Yes.
And that is something that most of us don't know. because we are talked out of it basically from birth, which is why it's always such an awareness and awakening when all of a sudden we go, oh, wait a minute. Like you said, you make that list and you say, oh, no, I'm not this. Like some people are in jobs right now that, you know, they are doctors, they are lawyers, they are Indian chiefs, just to say. And it's because someone else told them that that's what they should be. But they never agreed with that. They just went to school for it because this is the way that they could fit into society and be comfortable and get all those little tchotchkes that society has to offer. But it's not who they are.
And you have so many people who are unhappy when they go to work every day and do something so wonderful.
Yes.
Yes, you do. And it's so funny that you would mention that because growing up, I used to love to write stories. And my mom told me all the time, you know, this is where your talent is. You write wonderful stories. You know, you're an amazing writer and you need to become a writer. You need to become a writer. That's where the money is. You need to become a writer. And even though I didn't know it in words, something in me understood that that's not where I'm supposed to be. I love writing, but I love writing for enjoyment. And when you put responsibility on my writing, then it wasn't my escape anymore. It wasn't my way of decompressing anymore. It wasn't my way of just allowing creativity to flow from me. It became strenuous, you know? And so even in that, and my mom, again, she thought she was doing a great thing by cultivating a talent that she saw. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what happens is, had I not felt like something wasn't right, even as a child, I would have walked into a career as a writer, probably hating it, making great money, but still going, I'm so unhappy. I don't understand, you know, what's going on. To this day, I really enjoy writing. And I have done some writing for a web series that my daughter and I started a couple of years ago. But the responsibility, I probably look at it differently now, to where I'll take that responsibility because I know what I'm called to do. I understand who I am, and I have no problem walking away from this at any time when it doesn't fulfill me. I didn't have that at that time. So it was something I grew into.
Okay. And I like that. That's because I like to write, you know, but I don't want to feel like I have to write.
Exactly. Exactly. I want to be able to write because I feel like it.
Right.
Because I want to. Right. I don't want any deadlines on me.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And that makes a difference in the creativity, all of that.
Right. And I say that because people think that it's so funny that I'm an author, but writing isn't my main thing, which I try to help them understand. Again, the writing of the book was a time for me to sit down. It was on my own terms. It's what I wanted to put out. It was an experience, you know, that I had that I wanted to share, that I really thought would be helpful to other people. And so although, yes, I am a writer and I've written a workbook to go with it, I've written a quote book, and I've done a collaboration for a book, and I'll probably write something else again. But once again, it's because I've allowed it to be an escape for me when I desire to use it.
Wow.
That's really important, because a lot of people, even with writing, they feel that they've been told that they need to write a book because they have a business. And sometimes, you know, that's just not their thing to do, but they do it anyway. And you can tell that the book is not coming from an authentic place. You can tell. We've had just recently had someone who wrote a book, and I read it and I was floored by it because it was coming from her gut. It was, there's no holds barred, coming from her gut. You knew that this was something that she wanted to share with the world, not to butter herself up, but to say, this is what I went through, and if you can learn something from it, great.
Then so be it.
It's it's just a totally different perspective on writing.
I love it.
A lot of people think that in order to be a writer, you have to become famous. You know, that's that whole fame issue. And that can be burdensome to some people. It's like, I don't want my whole life disrupted because of a book. I want to be on the road. traveling here and there because of a book, some people love that, that's fine, but other people don't. So again, it comes back to what you're talking about, having a purpose, knowing your purpose. And that right now is, I think, probably in this time that we're living in this very strange little space of time, many people are coming to that awareness.
That's one of the wonderful things about this strange time of ours, is that it really has given a lot of people, it has forced them to look in the mirror. Yes. It's forced them to come to terms with some things that they haven't, come to terms with in life. It's forced some people to look at themselves and say, wow, for 20, 30, 40 years, I've walked behind a title without knowing who I am. Who am I? It's forced families to come together. It has torn families apart.
Yes.
There has been so much that has come out of this time because people have had to really hone in to who they are, as well as who the person is that they're living with. And for some it worked, and for some they were like, deuces.
Yes. I'm out of here as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
I think that is, you just hit the nail on the head. And again, I know our listening audience are going like, that's me. That's exactly what happened. And now what do I do with it? I've come to this realization, oh my gosh, that's not who I am. It's never been who I am. And I don't want to be that anymore. That's why you're hearing many people saying, I don't want to go back to work.
They're like, this works. This works for me.
Exactly. I do not want to go back.
We didn't have the options, and now society has put an option here, and there are people going, no.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah, and I can actually live life and work without sitting in an office for 10 hours. I can actually rearrange some things, raise my children, have a better relationship. Yes. So yes, you have some where it really is. They're like, I'm seeing something different here, and I want something different here.
Yes.
And that's what this time has brought out of some people.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
And we're going to
real quick.
Oh, yes.
How do people get in contact with you? Because we'll be talking and talking and talking.
Exactly.
Are we out of time already?
No, not yet, but I like to get it in at least in the middle, and then at least at another time at the end.
No problem. Anyone can reach me on my website, which is my name, Shelley Meche'tte, and I'll spell that because it doesn't sound the way it's spelled. And it's SHELLEYMECHETTE. Don't you love all those E's? Just a million of them. So you can reach me on my website. We can connect there, where you can also download a free copy of my ebook, 5 Daily Happiness Habits, which will help you begin to walk in happiness and joy. We can also connect on Instagram under my name, Shelley Meche'tte. I like to keep things simple. And we can always connect on Facebook. Guess what? Just my name.
Say my name, right?
Say my name.
There you go. Excellent. All righty. That is simple. Yeah. That's very simple.
Yes, very simple.
I like to keep it simple.
So what other goodies do you have in your bag of wonderment? I'm a person who, again, I enjoy being able to be with other women. And so right now I've had several women say to me, I want to be able to step out. I want to be able to do what I believe that I'm called to do. I just don't know how. How do I start? What do I do? So now I'm actually in the process of creating a masterclass. I don't have all the details together yet, but I will be creating a masterclass so that I can bring women together and begin just to give them the steps and the tools that they need to stop living behind those titles and really find out who you were created to be, and really find out what your love is, what you desire, and where true happiness is for you. Because what brings you joy are not the same things that bring me joy. And it's okay for that to be different.
but we've been taught you should be happy because of this, you should be happy because of that. And simple things should bring us joy. But it's okay for you to enjoy listening to the birds, and for me to feel like listening to the birds is noise. It's really okay. It really is.
Yeah.
We don't have to have a problem.
Right, exactly. I mean, because we're individuals. We all uniquely made. So I'm not always going to like what you like.
Exactly.
And it might be we like something the same.
Exactly.
You know, but at different times.
And that too. Maybe in 5 years, I'll come back and say, that nature sound is great. But we really have to stop putting what we think is golden onto other people.
Yes.
It's okay for us to look at the same crayon and call it a different color. It's okay to have 2 shades of yellow. Mm-hmm. It's okay to have a burnt orange and, pumpkin orange. It really is okay.
Yes.
And that's something that people get hung up on. It really is. You hear people say, pretty much in their conversation, say to you, this is what I think, and this is what you should, and why don't you? And it's like, and sometimes you get caught in that because you don't want to offend, you don't want to reject, but really, it's okay. It's all those colors that make up a wonderful landscape.
And it makes it beautiful.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yes.
It makes it beautiful.
That's
But I like to let people know I appreciate your thoughts. I appreciate your ideologies. I appreciate those things. And just because I disagree or have a difference of opinion, that doesn't lessen my appreciation for what you see and what you feel.
Exactly.
A lot of times we just want someone to say it's okay. We just want someone to not take down what it is that we think and what we feel. And so sometimes if we could just give that to that person to say, although we're on different sides of the spectrum, I see you. Mm-hmm. I hear you.
Right. And
it's okay for us to be on different sides here, as long as there's a mutual respect for one another.
Absolutely. And that's so important, especially now in the world, because it's like all of this, what do I call it? I have an opinion, my opinion is wrong. And that's what you kind of see. And these people are supposed to be, let's say, intelligent. And I'm seeing they're having a hard time disagreeing. People are having a real hard time disagreeing. Yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't get it. If we're all of these, if we're individuals and we have thoughts of our own, and if we're trying to say to one another, let me learn from you, you learn from me, well, we're not learning if we're the same.
Right. Exactly.
So I don't understand why we have a problem being different if we're saying, let's open ourselves and hear one another. It doesn't mean that we're going to walk the same path. It just means that I can have a respect for you feeling the way that you do. And we can still go about our ways and everything can still be good.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
But again, I think that takes a level of confidence, self-awareness, and understanding who you are. I don't control you. I don't control the way you think. I don't control the things that you do. I don't control anything about you. But that takes a self-awareness for you to be able to take that part off of you. That's a lot of pride when you feel like you can take what you feel, what you think, and thrust it upon someone else.
Right.
That's a very prideful mind frame to have. Yeah. And so, that again is something that you need to go back and look at and take a look in the mirror and say, where is this coming from? What is this connected to? Why do I feel more powerful by making you feel powerless?
Mm-hmm. And more times than not, people don't do that.
Exactly.
More times than not, they justify their behavior, and it's bad behavior because they haven't really looked at it that way or taken a look at themselves.
Exactly. Exactly. Most of us don't want to take a look at ourselves, and I understand it. Who wants to look at themselves and say, you know what, you are just a bitter, mean person? Who really wants to do that?
Right, exactly.
But when you're willing to face that about yourself, when you're willing to look in the mirror and really say, my business isn't working because the person looking at me is lazy. When you're really willing to say that, and to say, I'm just a person who I think I know it all. I'm very intelligent. I'm very articulate. And I just feel like there really isn't much that other people can teach me. And maybe that's why I've hit a plateau. When you can say those things, then that's when you make the choice to deal with it, because you have a choice at that time.
Right.
You can say, I choose to stay this way. Everybody else kick rocks. Or say, I choose to evolve. I choose to be better. I choose to better my relationships around me. And that means I'm going to have to deal with some things that are in me. Now, where did these things come from? So that I can begin to chip away at them and begin to put new life, new thinking, new attitudes behind it.
Absolutely.
It takes humility. It takes humility to look at yourself.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
There's a big difference between humiliation and humility, but humility is a requirement. It is.
It is.
It doesn't feel good all the time. It doesn't feel
You
good.
know what? I don't think it feels good any of the time, to tell you the truth.
When you have to eat humble pie.
You know, yes, when you really have to sit back and be like, hey, well, yeah. That hurts your feelings.
Yeah.
That hurts your feelings. Nobody wants to look at themselves. We only want to glorify the great parts of us. That's why we get on social media. That's why we live on there. We love to be able to see the things that, you know, that are large, things that are fantasized, things. We love it. That's why we love to watch celebrities and to watch their lives, because it gives us a chance to step into things that we're not in right now. You know, and so it's like, oh, this is great. But none of us want to tap into those things that are wounded, tap into those things that are fragile, those things that if you push it, it will crack. Unfortunately, the only way to truly heal is to walk through hurt. Yeah. It just doesn't happen. If you didn't hurt, there would be no reason to heal.
Right.
Yeah. Heal only comes because there is a hurt. Yeah. And most of us, we refuse to acknowledge or even investigate the hurt.
Right. And
you walk right past it.
Yeah. Yes. And that old saying, no pain, no gain, is true.
Oh,
you gotta look
cool.
You gotta go through it. And
you have to go through it. Yeah. And how many of us are raising two hands to go through it?
Nobody.
You have to be forced almost.
You're right. You have to be forced.
Where you have a choice. You can live or you can die.
Right.
It's not always a physical death. It's
like you said, you have to be forced almost to look into the mirror. Life has to be like hitting you, you know, on the back of the head, and you're like, okay. All right.
Right. I get it.
Okay, fine. I'll stop. I'll do this. I'll do it. Yes. Okay, what is it?
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing about being human, though, is that the fact that when those moments come, we can either accept them or we can keep running. A lot of people keep running. They run for the rest of their lives.
Right.
And you stop and say, okay, I get it. There's something I'm supposed to learn from this. What is it? And then you start you start peeling the onion.
You start peeling the onion.
And you think that you get to a point and you feel really good. And you say, oh, I peeled the onion. I feel so good. And then something else comes up and you're like, okay, I'm back.
And then you have a new onion.
Yeah, you're back to peeling that one. It's like, okay, is this ever going to get over with?
And then also, with that, you know, with that same analogy, when you're peeling back the onion, what most people don't realize is you develop tears.
Yes, you do.
You develop tears as you peel back the layers, because the deeper you get in an onion, the deeper you get, the heavier the aroma is, and the stronger it is for you. Well, the deeper you get and the more you pull back for yourself and the more you discover, you'll find some things in you that will bring out the tears.
Yeah.
That will make you realize this is something that I've never dealt with, which will make you realize this is something I've been holding on to since I was a kid. Make you realize, oh my gosh, I didn't know that I had daddy issues. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that that I had a self-awareness issue, and this is why I keep attracting this type of a relationship. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I was emotionally neglected, to my children. So when you begin pulling back that layer, don't run from the tears. No. That's what's going to put you in the position to understand how to wipe them and what to do in order to heal them.
Yeah.
Yes. So true.
Beyond the tears, there's a smile.
It is.
You got to get the tears out.
But you exactly. You have to be willing to stick with the tears. And the problem is, most of us feel like, you've tucked away 15, 20 years worth of stuff. But if you cry for more than 2 days, you're over it. What? Are you kidding me? No, you got at least 3 years in there, dude.
Thank you.
You have triggers in there. You have not understanding certain issues in there. You have anger in there. No, this is a 2, 3, 4, 5 year deal going on.
Right, exactly. And however long it took you to get there to that place, it's going to take you X amount of time to get out of it.
Exactly. And why don't we give ourselves that?
Right.
Why?
Because we want to think of ourselves as perfect. We all have this perfect little thing in the back of our mind saying, I'm supposed to be perfect. No, we're supposed to be human.
Exactly.
That's all we're called on to be is human.
That's what we're called.
Be perfect.
Exactly. And as many times as we say it, we'll go right back and be like, oh, don't look at that scar. When having that scar gives you an opportunity to confront that scar again, to talk about that scar again, to become more comfortable with that scar being a part of your life and who you are. Your scar does not define you. It is a part of your story.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's a beautiful part of your story.
Yes. And this can be the life for somebody else.
Exactly.
So many positive things that can come out of a scar.
So true. And we have to begin to look at it that way. We have to stop looking at scars as embarrassing and something to hide. I'm not saying go to the top of a mountain and tell all your business. Everybody don't need to know it. But what I am saying is we have to stop feeling like we should be intimidated and be, and feel so inferior to the things that have happened in our lives. And even in my book, I share pieces of myself. I share pieces of my father and how I walked through that with him. I talk about making bad decisions. Believe it or not, I've made some bad decisions, and I even share that with my kids because I want them to know you're not looking at a perfect person.
Right.
Yes, that is so important.
And there's no such thing.
No such thing.
As a perfect person. And to be able to tell younger ones, this is my life. This is who I really am. I'm not just auntie, I'm not just grandma, I'm not just mother or father. I am not this, what we talked about earlier, being, mother in a box, this perfect image. No. This box has a lot of slits and holes, If you poured water into it, it would come right out the bottom because there's a lot of flaws. There's a lot of flaws here. But I lived, and it doesn't keep me from loving or caring.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's important for kids to know because when they make their mistakes, because of the way you are presenting yourself and be pretty much fessing up, I'm not perfect, then you don't expect them to be.
Yeah. I don't expect them to be perfect. And the one thing that I feel that I've done with my children, because I do believe that being raised, a lot of times in our mind as children, our parents presented themselves that whatever they say, it's just right. It just is.
Yeah.
This is just what it is, even if it wasn't. So I was very animate and I was very particular about apologizing to my children when I was wrong. And that takes it takes a lot of you removing that pride, because as parents, we just feel like you're the child and you should just do. And there's a level where our kids learn from us when we're able to say to them, you know what, I missed the mark. You know, I was wrong for that. I shouldn't have done that. And I apologize. Yeah. You have no idea how you strengthen their soul, their spirit. Mm-hmm. You've just taught them that it's okay to fall, that it's okay to admit. You've just taught them how to come back and own their mistake. You've taught them a slew of lessons with one simple phrase. Yes. I apologize. Mm-hmm.
Mm. Oh. You have to come back. I'm thinking you have so much in there. We want you back because, oh my goodness. Yeah, I apologize. I come from an era where that was not in the vocabulary of any parent that I knew.
So did I.
Right.
Yeah, that was not happening. Oh, no. They were right for every reason.
And deep down, they knew they was wrong, and they
they did, right?
even when we kind of saw you messed up there, Mom. Mm-hmm. They ain't gonna say they was sorry.
And they be like, again, you better go on somewhere.
Right.
Go on somewhere.
Don't stand in my face trying to tell me.
Oh yeah.
No problem. Yep. I'm out.
Exactly. As quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I can't wait till you come back again, because we're going to go further. This has been fun, and it's been a healing, one of those healing conversations. I really appreciate it. You have a healing personality, and your honesty and your forthrightness is refreshing. And like I said, it was a healing conversation. Thank you. I know our listening audience, a lot of people are going to go, yep. That's me. Okay, I got to go back and say, I apologize. How do I do that? So they're going to get in touch with you and ask you, how do I do that?
Yes, come on. Come on. You can, and for anyone who's interested, you can always, again, go to my website where we can connect and we can have a 30-minute clarity call with one another. You can schedule a clarity call with me, and we can do a 30-minute clarity call, and we can begin to walk that path out for you about your desires, your purpose, and even, I apologize.
Excellent.
That is awesomeness. Well, Shelly, oh my God, I am so glad we met.
Me too.
I am so glad we connected, and I'm looking forward to, sharing you with our many audiences.
Thank you guys so much. This has been a wonderful, wonderful time, and I really appreciate you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We appreciate you.
Word on the street says there's something new at Just Minding My Business Media. You've heard our podcast, Just Minding My Business Radio, that brings news and views you can use. That airs every Thursday at 6 p.m. on iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and Spreaker. Well, now you can watch Just Minding My Business. That's right, Just Minding My Business Media now has a TV presence on Raven International TV Network, broadcast on Roku, Fire, and Apple TV. Your business, through Just Minding My Business Media, has exposure on internet radio, major social media platforms, and now TV, through Just Minding My Business dynamic digital marketing platform. Don't listen to the word on the street. Hear it for yourself. Visit jmb.asistercircle.org to learn how you can take your business, your vision, to the next level. Thank you to the amazing women of A Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASCEN LLC, and our media partners. Let Just Minding My Business Media promote your business. For information, visit us at jmb.asistercircle.org. That's jmb.asistercircle.org. Voiceovers by RCH VoiceWorks, for when you want to be heard. Call 443-620-4639 4115.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.